You're listening to the Loyalty Minute, the show that helps you build better customer loyalty and more valuable user engagement, with your host, Rob Gallo.
Welcome, loyal listeners, to another episode of the Loyalty Minute. I'm your host, Rob Gallo, and today I'm super eager and excited to chat with Dan Kustelski. I knew I'm going to mess up his name, but he's going to pronounce it correctly. But Dan is the co-founder of the award-winning gaming company Chalkline. He applied his 15 years of gaming and gambling experience into Chalkline's freeplay sports platform to assist casinos, sportsbooks, and media companies to build loyalty and engage customers and digital patrons. Welcome to the show, Dan. Thanks for joining me. Sorry for bastardizing your last name, but pronounce it correctly.
No, that's fine. It's Kustelski.
Gotcha. So, Dan, give me a little bit of background about yourself, other than Chalkline. Before how'd you get to where you're at, and then we'll dovetail into loyalty.
Sure. So grew up in Nashville, Tennessee, and was a massive sports fan. I went to the United States Military Academy in New York. I went into the Army for 5 years as an engineer, and then and that 5 years was pivotal in that it showed me a lot of the world. I went and got my MBA in South Africa, and while I was getting my MBA in South Africa, Sepp Blatter from FIFA said, "Hey, we're going to host the 2010 World Cup here." And I grew up playing soccer. I thought there's no better way for me. I couldn't earn $1 in sports as an athlete. I wasn't that good. So how do I earn $1 in sports otherwise? Well, I go into sports marketing. So I worked on the 2010 World Cup at a sports marketing agency called Octagon in Johannesburg. Lots of fun. You know, getting ready for the 2010 World Cup was epic, and flew all over the world, talking to potential sponsors and those types of things. But where sports betting is legal, what countries there, the sports marketers actually just end up marrying up teams and leagues with the books. And this is what we're seeing in the United States over the past 4 or 5 years. Mm-hmm. And so I got to understand the industry pretty well. I'm not a big gambler. I'm not a big sports bettor, but certainly understand the unit economics of it and the sponsorships of it. And so I actually moved from from an agency side to the client side. I worked for a development house. We built online casino platforms and online scratch cards and online poker, online sports betting. And so we launched a book in Cape Town. And that was for all of South Africa. And we did that in 2010, ended up selling it to a large land-based casino group called Sun International in 2013. And I ran kind of sports betting and interactive for them for the next 2 years. Came back to the United States in 2015, where I ran an online horse racing business. And it was pretty much soon after that, that my brother and I got together and we said, hey, sports betting is going to become legal. This was pre-PASPA, but we just saw read the tea leaves and we knew what was going to happen.
Awesome. So, and you're located now where? Where
I live in Lexington, Kentucky.
Lexington, Kentucky. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Hold on. Bourbon and horses.
That's a good combo.
That's a great.
All right. So obviously the name of the show is the Loyalty Minute. We're going to be talking about loyalty, customer loyalty, brand loyalty. But the first thing I ask most of my guests is, what does loyalty mean to you, Dan, as a consumer? Maybe a brand you're loyal to, with a story that people can relate to as to why.
Sure. So for me, it's really about having a very positive sentiment towards a brand, and that positive sentiment has to be so big and so impactful that it elicits an action or a response. If I'll use an example. I just recently drove down to North Carolina. My kids love this gas station called Buc-ee's. I'm not sure if you're familiar.
I've been to a Buc-ee's. It's crazy.
Okay, yeah. Okay, well, there you go. Well, and so they said to me, hey, don't just stop at any gas station. You got to stop at a Buc-ee's. Now, the gas is more expensive. They got decent food. It's usually a zoo, and there's a long line to get in. But it's a good example of just how loyalty works. It's not just knowing about a Buc-ee's, but it's eliciting that response that then makes me do something that's extraordinary in my kind of everyday daily life or buying habits or visiting places or whatever that that may be.
Get a tank of gas and a brisket on the way.
Hey, that's right.
It was delicious too. I know.
It's
So my son's
great.
got a Bucky's t-shirt, sweatshirt rather. He loves it. He's just a big fan. So they're
Yeah.
coming up with a new one down here somewhere in Florida. I saw my first one, I think. Yeah, because we drive up to North Carolina. My daughter lives in Mooresville.
Right.
So we drove up there, I think one time, and that's when we came in
Yeah.
to the Buc-ee's, and we're like, wow. And they were bragging about their bathrooms. The bathrooms I read the story about the guy who started it, and he was just appalled by going into a roadway gas station and seeing a bathroom that was just a shithole. So he's like, well, we're going to fix that. And then, now it's like a superstore.
Oh, it's amazing. It's like the Walmarts for gas stations. But again, like the when you talk to people that have been to one, it just elicits this, a different response than any other gas station that you see when you're doing the road trips.
Yeah, that's funny. So as far as with Chalkline, right? So let's just, before we get into some of that stuff, let's just get a little background on what it is and what it does so people could put it into context, what we're going to be talking about.
Yeah. So I mean, at my core, I provide free-to-play games. They're localized, personalized. For my clients in Tennessee, it's really about the Tennessee Vols and Vandy Commodores and the Tennessee Titans and the Nashville Predators. For my clients in Illinois, it might be about the Blackhawks and the Cubs, the Bulls. For my clients out in Sacramento, California, it might be about the San Francisco Giants and the 49ers and also maybe every single UFC event because their patrons. Their casino patrons love UFC, and then there's a NASCAR event that happens around the corner. So they've got a lot of NASCAR fans out there. So we create all of these free to play games, specifically for the various kind of areas that we that our clients and our casinos operate in.
So is the idea then, from a gamification standpoint, to create loyalty at the front door, or is it like after they've already signed up with one of these operators? Then, so to me, loyalty is not a new player acquisition or a new user acquisition. It's more of an existing acquisition that you have to keep them retained. Yes. So how does it work? I'm not even sure.
It's great question, and these are conversations that I have been having for since I was working in the casino industry, back in South Africa. We see it. There's a couple of ways. At its core, we look at the player. And we think about our offering to that particular player, and so we just look at it from a sports perspective. How many Americans are sports fans, and what are they truly passionate about? If you take, Rob, if you take the 2020 top 100 TV shows in the United States, I think like 92 or 93 were sports, some sports event. So we know that everybody in America, or a lot of people, are sports fans. And then it's really about, what are they sports fans of? If I walk around Oklahoma, and I go into actually any random, casino, and I'm wearing an OU or an OSU shirt, that's going to elicit a response. All of the OU fans are going to be, hey, love your shirt. The OSU fans might not be so happy with me, but it's really about tapping into that passion, that we then go to the casino and we say, we know that these people are incredibly passionate about sports, and you as a casino need to use sports to tap into that passion as well. So if you know that that we're in Green Bay, and you're a casino, yes, can you offer sports betting? Maybe or maybe not, but it doesn't really matter. What we're telling these casinos is to simply use that engagement with sports, that affinity to sports, that loyalty that people have to sports teams, individual players, and simply use that to build their own loyalty, piggyback off that. And we see co-branding all the time, Delta and Starbucks. This happens all the time. The local casinos can really just use the same concepts in order to tap into the passion points of their casino patrons. That makes sense?
Yeah, it does. But so let me just walk through the customer journey. I'm already a patron of a casino in Michigan, let's say.
Yes.
right?
That's correct.
So then how does Chalkline engage or help me re-engage with my existing patrons to continue to have them come back?
Okay, so I'm gonna use a couple of scenarios here. First of all, I'm gonna say that you're already signed up to the loyalty program. You walk into the casino, scan a QR code that's inside the casino to play the Detroit, or even better, to play the Michigan, when Michigan plays Michigan State. Play the free play pick'em and stand a chance to win $10 in casino loyalty points, or $10 in casino slot play. Right. Mm-hmm. So all I'm doing is I'm already there. I scan the QR code. It's 5 simple questions. Usually it takes about 30 seconds to play our games. We keep it really, really simple. It's mobile web, so we're not arguing with casinos about their apps and those types of things. And we're able to engage with that person, and they can stand a chance to win that $10 in casino free play right then and there. If the game's on, which the games usually are on, the casinos do understand that they're entertainment venues, so they are starting to air a lot of sports, and so it's just tying all of these things together. Now that's one example of somebody who is already maybe a part of the casino, but there's so many uncarded patrons that go into these casinos, and so how do you start that process of I go into a casino, and it's the same with ticketing. I buy four tickets to the Taylor Swift concert. Do they know who the other 3 people are? They don't, because it's me. Same thing with casinos. I walk into a casino, I bring friends, and we're actually going to go, maybe play some poker, or we're going to go play some blackjack, but we're also going to watch a game, and it's Saturday afternoon. Does the casino know who those people are? They don't. But if I can start to get everybody to engage and start to collect email addresses and mobile phone numbers and first names and last names and those types of things. So I start that process for them to build their loyalty program. So that's really, those are the 2 big ones. I also, we also focus a lot on marketing outside of the retail environment. We integrate with apps. We work with them on their social media. So all the social, if I could tell every single brand, hey, I can convert your social media following into a first name, last name, and email address, I'd be a billionaire, right? Well, I'm starting to do that with the casinos, in that if people are following these casinos on social media, here's a link, play Michigan State, free play pick'em, stand a chance to get back into the casino. I'm driving additional foot traffic, which we know is approximately about $100 per visit. So there's a lot of ways that we work, but it's really around tapping into the passion points of those casino patrons, which is around the sports and the local sports that happen. Yeah.
So when you think about loyalty to that brand, right? So there's probably, I don't know how many casinos there are in Michigan. Let's just pick Michigan for argument's sake, right?
Sure. So 32, I think.
How many?
32.
32 land-based casinos in Michigan.
I think so, yes.
Wow. Okay. So yeah, that's some pretty strong competition, right?
It is.
Now, the differentiator between one and the other is, before they even arrive, giving them something to bring them in the first place, right? So that's not really loyalty per se, but it's giving them that sense of, hey, I'm offering you more value than the neighbor, my next door neighbor, because I'm giving you this opportunity and tapping into your love for sports. That's the idea.
That's exactly right.
Yes, okay,
correct.
So, and then
and it's all branded according to that particular casino.
Yeah.
So if I'm working with Soaring Eagle, in the middle of the state, it's all, hey, this Michigan versus Michigan State game is provided by Soaring Eagle, so it's all white labeled, and that's we're the brand behind the brand.
Right. Good. Yeah, that's great. I like the idea. I like the concept, and I'm assuming that the unit economics are based on results. Yes, somewhat. Meaning,
it is. We do have a monthly licensing fee. It takes a little bit of effort, but we are always we're always excited about the casino buying into the platform and really helping us grow. They don't have to spend an awful lot more money. And I'll give you an example. In Minnesota, we work with a Grand Casino. They just recently sponsored the MLS team, Minnesota United. So they already spent, a relatively significant amount of money on the sponsorship of this particular casino, of this team. All we do is we just come in and say, hey, everybody at Grand Casino, first of all, do you know that we're a sponsor of this particular, team, and play our free play games, win free play cash, integrated on the mobile app, talk about it on social media. So it's a leveraging tool inside of that, and the unit economics work out. For some of our clients, it's less than 50 cents. We tend to more market it around at kind of $1 per player. But I mean, that's nothing compared to what the customer lifetime value is for a land-based casino player. And this, the affiliates in the online gaming space, they're getting $400, $500 for a casino player, maybe $150, $200 for a sports bettor. $1 for an online engagement is really reasonable, and that's really where we kind of price it.
Yeah, that's so true, because you're right. I mean, that's exactly, we're getting upwards of $500 for a referral of a new casino client. So it's
correct.
I know the LTV is huge.
And the AGA have come out, and they did a really interesting study last year on what is a casino visit worth. A person walks into a casino on average, and it varied. I mean, some of the California, casinos, it might be $130 for some of the, smaller casinos in San Diego, South Dakota, it might be $70 or $80. But still, I mean, it's about $100. So every single time, and one of our metrics, and one of just having, worked inside the casino industry, we're just trying to push as many people as we possibly can back into that land-based casino, because we know that's the cash register. We just need to get them there.
I don't know if the Chalkline apps do this, but what would be interesting, I spoke to a guy in New York a long time ago, was working on something about, when you walk into an environment that has Wi-Fi, your machine pings that Wi-Fi, whether you know it or not, right? It doesn't know who you are. It knows your device for sure as a unique ID. And I'm wondering if they do anything like that, where on premise you can get that metric that you just mentioned of you're coming back in. We could see how many times our people are coming back in.
100%. So we, at a very basic level, we probably don't get that far, with the casinos, but some that we have been working with for a long time. I mean, we almost help them with kind of data management. Like we come up with all the ideas. If I were a GM of a casino, what would I do, and how would I start to collect as much data as possible? Because that's actually at the heart of any loyalty program is data, right? Yeah. And massive amounts of data. Now, what's interesting is what's happening with all of that data and personalizing messages for me, and that's but it starts with collecting as much data as you possibly can on your clients, on your patrons that come in, and that's a really good tool. Wi-Fi. Everybody turns on Wi-Fi. Well, why not just get them to give your email address and mobile phone number or first name or last name before you actually get that Wi-Fi? They're probably happy to exchange a little bit of information for the value of getting that Wi-Fi, better yet, let's gamify that entire experience and say, hey, listen, you just walked into a casino in Oklahoma. Why don't you play the Oklahoma State, pick 'em against whoever, Texas this week, play the game, get Wi-Fi, stand a chance to win $10 in casino slot credits. So there's a lot of those types of things, but it's just like the digitization of marketing in general. I'm just sports, but we've got a lot of ideas. My brother's from the ticketing industry. I'm from the sports marketing industry, and now the gaming industry. So there's a lot of opportunities for the casinos in general, just to think about data and to collect all of that data to enhance their loyalty program.
Agreed. Yeah. As long as it doesn't become too creepy. Again, I was mentioning this is, I think, episode 118. And we've talked about it in numerous previous episodes with other guests about, personalization is great. When people think, hey, they're talking directly to me. They say, hey, Rob, check this out. We noticed that you were searching for a new Apple laptop. Here's one that might fit your bill. Okay, I could live with that, right? But they're going to tell me my cholesterol level, and I'm like, what the hell? It might be a little too much. So, and I digress. But when my
no, it's an excellent point though, and it's one that everybody in the loyalty industry has got to understand that balance. You can completely creep people out.
Yeah.
And you don't need to do that. But are there ways that you can enhance their experience in a kind of a fun and gamified way? We think sports is one of those ways to do it.
Yeah, I agree. But getting back to the Wi-Fi thing. So now, I don't know if you've heard of If This Then That. So I have a program on my phone now that when I walk out of my house and I'm more than 60 feet, 70 feet away, my Wi-Fi turns off. And when I come back in, it turns on automatically. So this way, I'm not pinging any other Wi-Fi things. Because, my 4G, I've got T-Mobile, is strong enough where I'm getting 30 or 40 megabit download speeds no matter what. Yes. So I can stream anything. I don't need to be on anybody else's Wi-Fi.
Right.
Anyway, I digress. So getting back to business and loyalty. So let's look at it from a corporate level now. And I know before we hit the record button, we talked about sometimes the corporate entities that are a little old and stodgy and, kind of behind the times in some of this stuff. I think they've turned the corner since online gaming has become so prevalent. But has there been any instances, Dan, where you've reached out to or have an existing client that, and the reason that I'm framing it this way is, let's just say that our typical listener is going to be a small business owner who's thinking, how do I get more people to come back to me? And I've said this once, and I'll say it again. It's 6 times more cost effective to get an existing customer to come back than it is to go out and get a new customer. So the question that I'm asking you, Dan, is even from a B2B level, right? We don't really think about loyalty, customer loyalty or brand loyalty at a B2B level, but it's definitely there. So my question is, how do you think about loyalty with regard to the brands that you currently engage with to keep them actively engaged in what your offer is?
So you mean from a loyalty to Chalkline, or do you mean the brands that I have creating loyalty for their patrons?
Well, so you're creating that as a white label, right?
Correct. That's right.
So now they can say, well, maybe there is no competition for what Chalkline offers them, but let's just say Soaring Eagle, I don't know if you mentioned that name, but let's just say they said, how do you keep them loyal to what it is that you do, with the exception, again, before we hit the record button, we talked about Caesars and their RFP process, and I presented them with a great opportunity, and they went with Collinson, which again is fine. I get it. But the point is that how do you kind of nail that to keep them?
That's a great question. And this goes back to why I personally am loyal to other brands. It's about adding value. And so, even, am I always selling? Of course I am. I'm always selling. But the way that I do that, and maybe the way that we approach that, is just, lots of case studies, lots of, hey, here are some ideas. Hey, here are some ideas. And to be honest, like I'm the entrepreneur that says an idea is so cheap. It's the execution of the ideas that really are where it's hard, and making anything really simple to execute is actually very difficult to do. So I'm okay with giving people a lot of ideas. Like, how can I, I always put myself in the person's shoes that I'm talking to and say, if I were you, what would I be thinking about? And not to be a lecturer, but just to say, hey, here's some thoughts that I see across the United States. And it's that adding value and being data driven, and really just trying to help that person in the job that they currently are, that I find, oh man, Rob, there was a casino not too long ago. I started talking to them in 2018. Got a call in March of 2023. Hey, I've been following you. I love because we do monthly webinars. We're constantly, sending out case studies, and hey, can you do this one thing for me next month? And I know that you can do it, because you always talk about how fast you can get somebody up and running. A good example of, you don't know, if you're always helping people, and maybe that's a little bit of the servant leadership style where it's never about you, it's about everybody else, and how do you help everybody else out, and I certainly subscribe to that, but we subscribe to that as a business. And so sometimes people take our ideas and they run with it and they don't use Chalkline to do it. That's okay. If it's good, I actually highlight them and say, here's a good example of how that works. Mm-hmm. And that level of assistance, I think has created some loyalty towards Chalkline. But then the clients that I currently do have, it's really about just giving them stuff that I know that they don't get anywhere else. Being very data driven, being very helpful. Always turning a bad situation into a good one, and smiling a lot, and being positive. That for me is from a B2B perspective has really gone a long way for Chalkline.
Yeah, that's great. So, I mean, it reminds me of Zig Ziglar, his famous quotes: if you help enough people get what they want, you'll get what you want. So even if they don't come buy from you, it shows you as a thought leader saying, hey, listen, this guy took my idea and ran with it, but that's great. And it's not for everybody. So meaning other people will still have to come back to you and say, this is a better way to do it. Dan mentioned it. These other guys went on their own, but yeah, I'm going to work. Yeah, for sure.
But Rob, I also believe, and I firmly believe this: casino loyalty in America, it is first and foremost for every casino. It is the only thing that matters between cashless solutions and loyalty. There's nothing else that really matters for the casinos. And I provide this tool that is unique. I think that within 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, every single casino will be running some type of free-to-play games around the local sports that they're offering, just simply because it's table stakes. Now, I'm not there yet. That's the vision. I would like to be a part of that industry that gets there. But that's what I know is going to happen. So if it's me or if it's somebody else that's helping, kind of my brand get to that point, or my solution get to that point, I'm okay, because I'll just ride that wave with them.
Well, that basically preempts my last question of what does the future of loyalty look like? And that's basically,
I just tell you, but it's sports. There are so many opportunities. If I was a small business and I look, I drive around Lexington, Kentucky all the time, and I'll just localize it. And people use their affinity to the Kentucky Wildcats basketball team. They use it all the time. And you know what? Using sports is a great way to just break through that kind of business transaction clutter and just appeal to people's, heart and passion and love for, love for sports and sports teams. And it doesn't matter who the five guys are that are on the basketball court here in Lexington. People are always going to be Kentucky basketball fans, and they're going to lead the proverbial blue. And it's a constant reminder that, that's how sports are, and just, leveraging that opportunity kind of regardless of where you are and maybe even what level you do it. Maybe you do it a lot or do it a little, but sports is a great way to engender loyalty in your business.
Yeah. Have you ever considered anything out of the casino industry in terms of the vertical, but using sports as that economic driver to get people to pay attention?
We've been talking to brands a fair bit. Yes. And again, we're starting to see that. We're certainly starting to see that from the teams in the leagues. They're all, believe it or not, they're a brand, and they're trying to increase engagement, sell more tickets, sell more beers, hot dog, get more people to the stadiums. And so how do you always engage with people? How do you collect that zero party data? And then the question is, what do you do with it? And so, yeah, we're always talking to people. As an entrepreneur, and you've only got 24 hours in a day and 7 days in a week, I know that there's a great opportunity in the casino industry, but we're always talking to various industries about using sports.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see, because I could think of it as a great catalyst for any other brand, really, to put up a free, fun to play bet when you have something, maybe a hotel or like Uber. Let's get an Uber against Lyft virtual esports competition. Like we'll just
correct.
have two apps open at the same time and watch cars and see how fast they go and set up some stuff. That would be fun. Yeah. Well, listen, Dan, it's been a great conversation. I hope our listeners got a lot out of it. So if listeners want to get a hold of you, Dan, what's the best way they can do that?
They can find Daniel Kustelski at LinkedIn, or they can just go to www.chalkline.com. And they can find us. Really simple.
Cool. But again, like I said, I know we could talk about this for hours, but I don't want to bore our listeners with details of some minutia. But
the gaming minutia. But it's fun though. I love it. I am passionate about it. I geek out about it. So yeah, it's been a great half hour hanging out with you, Rob.
Super. Well, Dan, listen, I want to thank you for your insights, and hopefully it inspired some of our listeners to think about loyalty in a different way, and either they reach out to you or they're doing something in sports, because sports is the universal language, even at a local level, to tap into to get people to maybe pay attention to your brand. So if you feel you received some value from the show, to our listeners, the only way we grow is by you hitting the like and subscribe button on the podcast service that you listen to. You can even share the podcast with friends who you think might be able to benefit from it. To reference this and other Loyalty Minute episodes, please visit theloyaltyminute.com. I appreciate your time. Thanks again, Dan.
Thanks, Rob. Appreciate it, man.
All right, cool.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to tune in tomorrow for your next edition of the Loyalty Minute.